Hello, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to all of you. Juma Mubarak. I hope you are all in high spirits and doing well. Today is the fourth in the series of our 2020 CPD series. The topic for today's CPD is filing of an appeal to ATIR, Appellate Tribunal Inland Revenue. This is basically a continuation from yesterday's CPD, which was about filing of an appeal to Commissioner Appeals. So let's start with today's session. First things first. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa halul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. O Allah, open my heart and ease my task for me, and remove the impediments from my speech, so that they may understand what I say. Amen. Um, okay, the customary introduction of the presenter. Many of you would already be aware of me. Um, I'll just briefly introduce myself. My name is Umar Zahir Mir. I'm the chairman of ACCA's MNP and Taxation Subcommittee. I also represent Pakistan on the Global Tax Forum. I'm also sitting on the editorial board of ACCA's regional publication, the Policy Insights for the entire MESA region. Um, Professionally, I'm a fellow chartered certified accountant. I'm also a CFA a charter holder. I'm a CA, BFP, CPFA with anti-money laundering, fraud risk specialization, and several other professional certifications from UK, along with 17 years plus fund of experience gained by working in top management positions both in Pakistan as well as abroad. Presently, I'm working as a managing partner at MLCC, that's Millennium Law and Corporate Company, the pioneer ACCA and legal practicing firm in Pakistan with a history of over 35 years. I'm also honored to be serving as a director on the boards of several corporate entities and think tanks. Besides, I'm also an experienced trainer, having worked with esteemed organizations across corporate, public, and academia sectors. My portfolio includes having conducted mandatory promotional trainings of government officers at MPDD, trainings at the likes of National Bank of Pakistan, HPL, MCB, PPCBL, IBP in collaboration with the State Bank of Pakistan, Pakistan Tax Bar, Lahore, Karachi Tax Bars, Lahore, Karachi Chambers, Barrier University, UET, and our very own ACCA. For those of you who like to read, you must be aware by now that I'm a regular contributor to various English language dailies, both nationally and internationally, such as Daily Nation, Daily Times, Pakistan Today, Express Tribune, and the renowned Blue Chip Research Journal. I'm also an advisor to several parliamentarians and receiver of ACCA's Exceptional Public Value and National Advocacy Award. I'm a life member, twice serving chairman, Finance and Economic Affairs Liaison Committee, and four-time chairman Liaison Committee of Lahore Tax Bar. I'm also the youngest member of the Hamdard Thinkers Forum and a director of Millet Thinkers Forum, and associated with several esteemed organizations globally. On your screen are some of our key existing clients and associations. I'm just going to skip through the rest of the slides of intro, including academic, professional affiliation, and strengths. The intro of the firm. I've mentioned that MLCC is the pioneer ACC practicing firm in Pakistan. This is just a link to the website and the report that ACCA published on MLCC, something that we are very honored, humbled by, and proud of. Professional acknowledgement, several legislations and other reports, including proprietary one of MLCC, have been utilized for the purpose of today's session. Due to the limited time and extensive volume of the topic, while we have strived to cover the maximum possible content within the available time, the content coverage had to be prioritized and managed in order to suit the requirements and constraint of today's session. So, thank you everyone for joining us today. I know Friday is normally a busy day, even in the lockdown, that people have to spend time with families, prayers, and everything. But today's topic is a very important one, and one of the key areas if you are planning to work as a professional, either in public practice for taxation or even in the corporate sector or in your job scenario. Even if you don't have to file these appeals yourself, just knowing the process, the procedures, what's involved, how it actually works, will definitely benefit you professionally. So do pay attention. For the next quarter to 2 hours could be one of the most important CPD hours of your professional careers. So let's start. Okay, you do have in the hands-out sections a copy of today's presentation, a copy of the income tax ordinance, and a copy of the updated income tax rules. Uh, Please download them, especially if you were not in yesterday's session. They are very important, not just for today's session, where we'll be referring to them repeatedly, but also in your professional careers. So Section 131 of Income Tax Ordinance 2001 deals with filing an appeal to the Appellate Tribunal. It says where the taxpayer or the commissioner, now pay attention to this, objects to an order passed by the commissioner appeals, the taxpayer or the commissioner may appeal to the Appellate Tribunal against such order. In yesterday's session, we did speak about uh, a proper judicial process where all the parties involved should have the proper process at their disposal and the appellate forums to appeal against a decision. So in this case, if the decision by the commissioner appeals is something you are not satisfied by, you can file an appeal with the appellate tribunal. However, it's not just you. The same liberty and the same right is also afforded to the officer of the FPR. So, for example, if the commissioner appeals actually decides in your favor and the FPR official is not happy with the merits of the decision or otherwise believes that something has been missed, it is and it will be within their rights to file an appeal with the appellate tribunal. So it's not just us, the taxpayer, who can do that, but also the FPR officials who can file an appeal with the commissioner appeal. Now, next thing logically is what are the requirements to file an appeal? An appeal under subsection 1, which we just referred to, shall be in the prescribed form, verified in the prescribed manner, and accompanied, except in case of an appeal preferred by the commissioner, by the prescribed fees specified in subsection 3. I would be showing you the form, not just the form and the prescribed manner, but as we did yesterday, I would show you an actual appeal. Obviously, I would have to take out the client details for confidentiality purposes, but that would give you a real flavor of how things are handled in practice. If you are filing an appeal to the appellate tribunal, you would have to pay the prescribed fee, which we'll refer to in a moment. However, if the FPR official, the commissioner on behalf of FPR, is filing an appeal, they would not need to pay any appellate fee to the appellate tribunal. It does make sense that one government office shouldn't, logically speaking, be needing to do that to the appellate forum created by the government too. The prescribed fee for filing an appeal to the appellate tribunal is 2,000 rupees, irrespective of the nature of your case or the status of your incorporation. If you guys attended yesterday's session, you can recall perhaps that the fees for filing an appeal to commissioner appeal actually depended on several factors. The primary one, whether the order that you were appealing against was an assessment order or not, and secondly, whether you were an individual, an AOP, or a company. That is not the case for the appellate tribunal. There is a one fee for everyone, and that is just 2,000 rupees. The time limit to file an appeal. Can there be unlimited time to file an appeal? So subsection 4 states that when it's preferred to the appellate tribunal, the appeal should be preferred to the appellate tribunal within 60 days of the date of the service of order of the commissioner appeal on the taxpayer or the commissioner, as the case may be. Now I have two questions for you. Number one, what would be the date of serving of the order? We did discussed this question yesterday. So if you attended the session yesterday, I do expect you to be aware. Okay, I'm going to give you about a minute to write your responses. Your time starts now. You can just type in the chat box or the Q&A box. Okay, we have received a few responses. Walid Yunus is saying from receiving date. Um, that's right, Walid, but you need to elaborate it more, especially being a professional, that your answer should actually depict what you are trying to say. Then we have Murtaza saying the date of the order issue. Okay, but what if the order is issued and you did not receive that for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days and the time period has lapsed? Think about it, Murtaza. Mohammed Hassan is saying the date of order. Saqib Latif is saying date the order is received from the Commissioner Appeal. Interesting. Siddiq Ahmed is saying receiving the order copy. Nabil Ibrahim is saying date on which the decision judgment passed by the Commissioner Appeal. And we are receiving a lot of responses from Amna Samin, Nabil Ibrahim, Abdul Rahim, Muhammad Suhail Iqbal, Muhammad Ejaz, Taj, etc. etc. Sorry guys, we have a time constraint session, so not possible to read everyone's name, but hats off to all of you for contributing and giving your feedback. Let's think about it. The date of the service of the order is the date when you actually receive the order, and it does make sense. It doesn't matter when the order was passed. If it was not properly communicated to you, how can it reasonably be assumed that you are aware of it? And if you are not aware of it, how can you file an appeal against it? Think about it, right? So the date of service of order of the Commissioner Appeal would be the date that you received that order. And in order to service, the Commissioner Appeal has to actually send his decision by post or courier or any such means to the address that you provided for correspondence when filing the appeal. We'll see that form in a bit, and you'll see what I mean by that. Now, another question would be, why would we mention that the date of the service of order of the Commissioner Appeal on the taxpayer or the commissioner? Which commissioner are we talking about? And why would we serve any order of the Commissioner Appeal on the commissioner? Any ideas? Okay, guys, can you, before answering, just give me a quick yes, telling me whether you can hear me? Okay, yes, that's great. So any member who might be seeing any issue need to check their internet connection. First of all, my support team has told me the voice is crystal clear. I can see in the organizer tab that from my end, it's 100%. It's perfectly fine. And all the members are saying it's fine. So I'm not sure what the issue may be. Okay, anyway. Let's go back to the question that I asked. Why would we refer to the serving of the order of commissioner appeal on the commissioner? What do we mean by that? And why would we serve the order to the commissioner? By the way, I just discussed that briefly. So we have the first response from Wakar. He's saying, Commissioner, how is filing appeal? Commissioner, who is filing appeal? Okay. You need to elaborate your answer. Um, okay, come on, guys, more answers. Yesterday, we didn't refer to any commissioner filing the appeal to the commissioner appeal, right? So why would a commissioner be referred to when filing an appeal to the appellate tribunal? What's different? Is it even correct? Or did my staff made any mistake when preparing the presentation for you? Yeah, it is correct. So why is it correct? That is the question. Why are we referring to the commissioner when we are talking about filing an appeal to the appellate tribunal and not do the same when talking about filing an appeal to the commissioner appeals? Okay, Taj Muhammad Khan says because it's upper level. Saqib says the CIR is party to the appeal. And Abdul Basit Lada says because CRA can decide in favor of the taxpayer. Well done. Perfect answers, Saqib and Abdul Basit. You can pat yourselves on the back as an appreciation from me. Well done. So basically, the commissioner actually passed the order. And against that order, the taxpayer went to the commissioner appeal to file an appeal. The commissioner's order was the one against which the appeal was filed. So obviously, they didn't need to file an appeal to the commissioner appeal. However, when we are talking about the appellate tribunal, the situation is different. What's happening right now is that in case of an appellate tribunal, the commissioner appeal might have decided in favor of the taxpayer or in favor of the commissioner. So, depending on who is the aggrieved party, either the taxpayer or the commissioner can both file an appeal in front of the appellate tribunal. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So, let's move forward. What if there is a time bar? What if the time for filing the appeal has actually lapsed? We just discussed that the appeal has to be filed within 60 days of the date of the service of order of the commissioner. Do you remember how many days you had to file an appeal? How many days from the date of service of an order by the commissioner of FPR or officer of FPR you had to file an appeal to the commissioner appeal? Do you remember? Anyone? Again, just give your feedback in the Q&A section or the chat box. Okay. Some people are saying 30 days, some people are saying 60 days, and some are saying 120 days. Okay, some people are confusing. The commissioner appeal had to decide the appeal within 120 days, which could be extended by a further 60 days for reasons in writing, a total of 180 days. So it was not 180 days to decide. So 30 days, sorry, it was not 180 days to file, it was 180 days to decide maximum. So the correct answer is either 30 days or 60 days. Come on, guys, you can do it. So I'm getting the answers. Vakar, most of the people are giving the right answer, and some people are saying 60 days. Okay, I'm gonna do you a favor, guys. I'm gonna show you. Although you have the act and you could have seen it by yourself, but let me quickly show you. So guys, what is the time limit to file an appeal to the commissioner appeal from the date of serving of the order by FPR? 30 days. One easier way to remember this is that the time increases as the level increases. So for FBR's order, the time limit to file an appeal with commissioner appeals is 30 days. To file an appeal against the commissioner appeals order with the appellate tribunal is 60 days. And to file a reference with the high court against the decision of appellate tribunal, you would then have 90 days. So that's a very easy rule of thumb I'm giving you. It's 30, 60, and 90 days. I hope that would help you to remember it now. So the exception to time bar to file an appeal to the appellate tribunal, and this is in line with what we discussed yesterday about filing an appeal to the commissioner appeal. There may be exceptional circumstances, justified reasons, some key person got sick, or other reasons that prohibited you from filing the appeal in time. So the appellate tribunal may, it's not mandatory on them, it's their power, they can do that. They may, upon application in writing, admit an appeal after the expiration of the period specified in Clause D, which is the time limit we just discussed, 60 days from the date of service of order of the Commissioner Appeals. In Clause D of subsection 2, if it is satisfied that the person appealing was prevented by sufficient cause. That is the keyword. Prevented by sufficient cause from filing the appeal within that time period. So that time bar can be condoned and an appeal can still be submitted. Before we proceed further, the next phase would be a Q&A break. I would now be taking your questions. So please feel free to write any relevant questions that you may have in the Q&A box about what we have covered till now. After the question and answer session, I would show you the formats that we have in the legislation, and then I'll show you an actual example of how this is actually done. And we'll take another question answer break in between. And then we'll conclude by discussing section 131 subsection 5 and section 132 of income tax ordinance about how the appeal is done, the processes involved, and how the appeal is disposed by the appellate tribunal. And then we'll have a concluding Q&A session. If you have any specific questions or any non-relevant question, just like yesterday, I'll be sharing my contact details. I'll in fact share them right now. The best way to reach me even after the session is through LinkedIn. You can also send me emails or messages on WhatsApp. But if you do that, please introduce yourself. Uh, but the quickest way to connect with me is on LinkedIn, and I strive to answer to all queries. As I'm very busy and the schedule is tied up, yes, even during the lockdown, mashallah, it may take some time, but I do make an effort to get back to each and everyone who makes the effort to connect with me. So it's not just the session, you can connect with me afterwards too if you have any specific questions. But because we have to take everyone together and we have a limited time, I would request you to focus your question on the relevant ones about what we have covered today. So I'll be giving you a couple of minutes to write down your questions. Nizam, are you with me, or should I take the questions on my own today?
I am here, sir.
Great. So can you just scroll up and see if there are any relevant questions? Start asking those while our respected attendees are typing their newer questions.
Okay, we have a question by Wakarul Hassan. We're back. Commissioner, how is filing the appeal? Commissioner who is filing the appeal. Okay, he needs to come up with his question again.
Pakar, unfortunately, the question wasn't very coherent. Could you please elaborate what you are trying to ask, and we'll be happy to answer. Thank you. Next one, please.
Okay, not many questions, rather none. I would ask the, okay, we have a question by Faisal Aziz. What kind of decisions in which commissioner appeals differ with commissioner?
What kind of?
Decisions in which commissioner, in bracket appeals, differ with commissioner.
Okay, and who has asked this question?
This is Faisal Aziz.
Faisal, it's an interesting question. Basically, Faisal, one easier way to put it is any matter where the commissioner appeal is not satisfied that the commissioner decided the case on merit or in line with the applicable laws, legislation, and the case laws. Simple as that. So then you can expand that to different scenarios and individual cases. I hope that answers the question. However, what you are referring towards, I would elaborate that practically because commissioner appeal is deputed from FP within FPR's cadre, and normally they have served as commissioners themselves for a good enough time. There is a certain, how to put it, inclination, certain mindset, but people do win appeals at commissioner appeals forum too. It's not to say that they don't. However, appellate tribunal, because normally it's formed by way of a DB, a double bench, where at least one member is a judicial member who has never worked as an FPR officer. So that's more of an more independent in nature, and people tend to get more relief at that forum. I hope that answers the question, both the implied one and the explicit one. Next one, please.
Then why FPR needs to file an appeal against Commissioner's appeal decision?
Ijaz, the orders are issued means the order of the commissioner appeal or the order of the commissioner. If you are saying the order of the commissioner appeal, no. Um, Although a commissioner appeal is deputed from within FPR's pool, which is one of the basic and major criticism of all professionals, because it's just not in line with the principles of even appearing to be independent. Practically, the commissioner appeal is not required or does not take orders from FPR about deciding the case. So that's why there might be a reason to file an appeal against Commissioner Appeals to CN. I hope that answers the question. Next one.
Ali Tanveer, how do we know FPR has filed an appeal before ATIR?
The same way that they get to know that we have filed an appeal, they would send you a copy of the appeal that they are filing this appeal with the tribunal, and the tribunal would also notify you that this appeal has been filed and XYZ date of hearing has been fixed. I hope that answers the question. Next one.
Devanand Prasad, how many judges or bench of judges to decide an appeal case in ITIR, judges slash commissioner?
It's not ITIR, it's ATIR, Appellate Tribunal, Devanand. But that's a good question. Devanand, there's no single size. If the case is of that much intensity, there's nothing prohibiting the ATIR from creating a full bench. But as a minimum, a DB is normally created, a double bench, which consists of at least one judicial member and one accountant member. I hope that answers the question. Next one.
Nabil Ibrahim, Appellate Tribunal is a bench of commissioners or single person hears the case.
I think that's basically been already answered, Nizam.
Uh, Ali Zubair, sir, sorry to ask a basic question. Please remind that appeal filed with for example, RTO Lahore can be taken up for appeal in Appellate Lahore and none other nor professional court.
I think Ali needs to elaborate his question. Can you please unmute Ali's mic so he can ask the question himself?
For sure, sir.
Thank you.
Go ahead with your question, Ali, please. Ali, you may go ahead with your question. Your microphone is unmuted now.
Assalamu alaikum, Ali. Are you with us or have you gone for taking a short break? I think Ali might have gone for a short break. I'll briefly answer what I could comprehend from his question. The first thing is that you don't file an appeal with RTO. RTO Lahore or anyone. RTO means Regional Tax Office. So they are basically FBR offices that are issuing a decision. You can file a review with the commissioner. That's not an appeal. But normally taxpayers choose not to do that because all the orders of the officers are normally issued by commissioner's consent, but that's an option you have if you want to avail. The first form of proper appeal that a taxpayer has, the first recourse, is the commissioner appeal. And I think you are referring to whether an appeal can be filed with the provincial courts. If you mean high court, yes, that's the next phase after appellate tribunal, but that normally considers the point of law. if that's left unaddressed or not properly addressed. But if you are referring to the lower courts, that's a different ball game. That's not within the periphery, unless there is a criminal or civilian judicial issue involved, which would be a very, very unique rarity, I would say. So I hope that answers the question. Next one, please.
Muhammad Amin, Assalamu alaikum. How to get stay at this forum? Does the procedure same? Is the procedure same?
Yes, Amin Saab, the procedure is largely the same as we discussed yesterday. You have to file the appeal, and along with the appeal, you file a stay application that I filed this appeal. So kindly grant me interim relief by issuing a stay order till the hearing, till the decision of this case, or 30 days or 60 days, whichever is earlier as you intend to do that. 30 days is the norm normally. Before you ask the next question, Nizam, could you please, for everyone's benefit, repeat the process of unmuting their mic so the next time we open the mic, they are aware how to do that?
Why not, sir? At the face of the screen, there will be a microphone appearing at the top right corner. Mostly they are not muted by themselves, but if they are, they just need to hit that microphone once, and they'll be unmuted.
Thank you, Nizam. Please continue with asking the questions.
Okay, it's Asma Akhtar. If we are not satisfied with the decision of the Appellate Tribunal, can we further file the case at any other platform? And what is the time barred period for that platform? Thanks.
Asma, that is not the purview of today's session, but still, as a courtesy, I'll answer this one question and request everyone to please focus on the relevant ones. Yes, Asma, if you are not satisfied, you can still file a reference with the High Court, but that basically discusses the point of law. So you need to be very sure that there is a point of law involved and how you want to go about that. I hope that answers your question. And Nizam, I think you missed a few questions. If you scroll up after Ali Zubair's question, we have questions by Imran and Inayat.
Sure, sir. I was trying to make a sense out of it. Inayat Qayyum is asking when a commissioner will appeal. Is it when an assent submits a self-income tax return?
Could you unmute Inayat so he can ask the questions directly?
Sure. Inayat, if you're around, you may ask your question. Your microphone is unmuted.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Inayat Saab. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I believe you are joining us from Bangladesh.
Yes, I'm joining from Bangladesh.
Welcome. First of all, how is the Pakistani system of interest to you? Is it largely
Actually,
the same?
yeah, it's more or less the same here because we almost adapted most of the things from Pakistan. Yes, there is some amendment done very recently in 1984. Then we have another amendment done in 2010.
Okay, that's great. That's the beauty of our community, the global community, that we get to connect with all the wonderful people like yourself all over. So welcome, and it's good to have you. Please carry on with your question.
Actually, my question was when a commissioner actually appeals, is it done when an SEC submits a self-income tax return, or it can be done under any circumstances?
Okay, so when you submit a self-assessment income tax return, the commissioner has the right under the income tax ordinance to object, and we have specific sections like 122 or 121 to open a best judgment or reassessment. Okay, so they have this avenue. If a commissioner does not avail that avenue, then by law the return that you have submitted becomes an assessment order. Assessment order means that that assessment has been accepted and it is on the same level as the commissioner may issue the assessment.
Okay.
However, still, if some additional information comes to commissioner's knowledge within the prescribed time period, so for example, the current time limit where a commissioner can still inquire about taxpayers' affairs in general cases is 5 years. However, if money laundering or tax fraud is involved, then the time bar can be removed. So if we are talking about general situations, so even after your assessment is accepted in kind, if the commissioner get to know that okay, the taxpayer maybe hit something, Inayat,
Yes,
then
yes.
they can still open an inquiry and go for a revised assessment. So that's
Oh,
one thing. When do commissioner normally file appeal? That's normally when the commissioner appeal decides against their decision. So let's say they opened a revised assessment against you or your client, and you filed an appeal with the commissioner appeal, and you were very well prepared, being an ACCA member and a practitioner, and you actually proved your case, and the commissioner appeal felt that you are on merit, and he issues a decision in your favor. Now, just like you, the commissioner appeal also has the right, commissioner also has the right, sorry, that if he feels that the commissioner appeals decision in your favor is
mhm.
not just, or he believes that maybe some facts were ignored or some laws were not properly interpreted, then just like you, he also has a right to file against that decision of commissioner appeal with the appellate tribunal. I hope
Okay.
that clarifies.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You are most welcome. Please ask the next question, Azam.
It's from Abdul Rahim for an individual section 114.
Mhm.
Notice non-compliance led to best judgment, and we got commissioner appeal relief and got permission to make all self-assessment. How much
Mhm.
is chance of audit of filed return?
Okay, that's an interesting question. With regard to audit, there are two different ways how FPR can go about it. Number one is the regular parametric audit, the ballot thing that is done. So you have as good a chance as everyone else if you fall within those parameters. They used to hide those parameters, still do, but there has been a recent judgment. I'm still trying to get a copy of that, but I've learned that High Court has issued the direction for them to share the parameters where the client inquired about that, the taxpayer. So that can be one thing. The second thing is they have the power under specific sections to call for your books and records. So that is their power. While you can make an assessment, they have the right if they feel that they need to check to call for the book and records. And if you have proper book and records, you shouldn't be worried about that. I hope that answers the question. Before you ask the next one, Nizam, let me read a question that skipped. Imran Khan has asked, in case appellate tribunal gives a decision to reassess, then what? Then Imran, simply the officer would need to reassess or file a reference to the High Court. These are the two options at their disposal. I hope that answers the question. Next one, please, Nizam.
Uh, I guess we have answered all the questions. That was the last question you just pointed out.
We have. Okay, we are doing fantastic. Okay, let's
Or
go
the,
back to our presentation then. So guys, we actually spoke about how to file the appeal, the time limits and various stuff. Let's actually look at the actual performers that we have to use. So first things first, this is the income tax ordinance that you are looking at right now. I have my screen shared, so I believe you should all be able to see it. But I still recommend that we have provided you the facility to download these from the link. These were also shared in yesterday's session, so please open them so this is handy for you. In any case, just have a look here. We already discussed about section 130. about filing an appeal to the appellate tribunal. 130 basically deals with the makeup of the appellate tribunal. You can go through that yourself. I'll just quickly tell you the important things. The Appellate Tribunal Inland Revenue consists of a chairman and other judicial and accountant members who are appointed in such numbers and manners as the PM may prescribe by rules, and which may be made and shall take effect notwithstanding anything contained in section 237 or any other law or rule for the time being in force. Basically, the powers were vested with the Prime Minister after approval from the assemblies, and this was done to allow FPR to make any emergency rules by consulting the PM office should the need arise. This is with regard to the appellate tribunal. And for those of you who are actually in practice, they would be aware that the reason for this was that appellate tribunal has been understaffed for a long time, and there has been issues between the law ministry and the Federal Public Service Commission about the procedures, the testing, the mechanism. Excuse me. So this was introduced to try to get to a mechanism where the highest executive order, highest executive office of the country can actually use the powers to provide a relief to the taxpayer by filling in the appellate tribunal. Anyway, the requirements for the appellate tribunal's judicial members are that they have to be either a judge of the High Court, they should have been, or a district judge, or an advocate of a High Court with a standing of not less than 10 years, or possess such other qualifications as may be prescribed. And for accountant members, the requirements are, now I know you guys would have a lot of comments here, but do remember that we have at least one judicial member in the double bench. The accountant member can either be an officer of the Inland Revenue Service equivalent to the rank of the regional commissioner. Now that's referred to as the chief commissioners, is a commissioner inland revenue or commissioner inland revenue appeals having not less than 3 years appeal experience as a commissioner or collector, and for a period of not less than 10 years practiced professionally as a chartered accountant within the meanings of the Chartered Accountant Ordinance 1961, or for a period of 10 years practiced as a cost and management accountant. And a good news for you is that we as your representatives in MNP, in collaboration with ACCA's officials, are lobbying and working on getting ACCA also inserted here. As you are aware, we have come a long way, and now ACCA members are becoming members of the tax bars all over the country, practicing the local laws and taxation, but we still have a long way to go, and we are working on that. So the constitution, functioning of benches and procedures of the Appellate Tribunal Inland Revenue shall be regulated by the rules which the Prime Minister may prescribe. Anyway, 130 deals with the constitution of the Appellate Tribunal, and I've given you a quick overview. You can go through that in details. 131 deals with the appeal to the Appellate Tribunal, and this is what we have covered in the presentation. And this brings us to section 132, the disposal of appeals by the Appellate Tribunal. But before that, I would like to cover subsection 5 of section 131. But before covering that, I would like to show you the format that we have to use for filing an appeal with the Appellate Tribunal. Again, we'll have to refer to the set of rules, the income tax rules 2002 updated ones, which have been provided to you. And you can see in chapter 12 that deals with appeals that we have a prescribed form for appeal to the Appellate Tribunal. We saw the form for the appeal to the Commissioner Appeals. Let's see the form for appeal to the Appellate Tribunal. Some changes have been made, so it might appear a bit old, but I would also be sharing with you an actual performa, an actual appeal to the Appellate Tribunal, so don't worry about this. So here, look at the prescribed form for appeal to the Appellate Tribunal. It says, it refers to the relevant section by saying an appeal under section 131 shall be in the following form and verified in the manner indicated therein, namely form of appeal to the appellate tribunal under section 131 of the income tax ordinance, rule 77, then you don't have to fill in the number. That would be filled by the ATIR office, and they'll also put in the year, although you can put in the year if you want to. You'll put in the details of the appellant and the respondent. Obviously, if you are filing the appeal, you would be the appellant, and the officer you are actually filing against, in this case, that would be normally the commissioner appeal. They would be the respondent. You can also make other offices such as the revenue secretary of the government of Pakistan a party. You can also make the FPR chairman a party depending on the nature of the appeal. Okay, then you'll mention the Inland Revenue officer who made the assessment. You'll also mention the tax year to which the appeal relates, the section of the income tax ordinance under which the commissioner passed the order, the commissioner appeals who passed the appellate order, date of communication of the order that you are appealing against, address to which the notice may be sent to the appellant. I did mention to you that the notice and the decisions would be served to you on the address that you'll provide. So here you'll be mentioning the address and the address to which the notices may be sent to the respondent and your claim in the appeal. You'll also need to enclose the grounds of appeal, which should be properly signed by the appellant or the authorized representative. You'll also enclose a verification, which is kind of like statement on oath, that you declare that whatever you are stating is true to the best of the knowledge and the belief, and this would be signed by the appellant. You'll mention the date on which you are verifying this under the oath, and there are some guidelines about how to file this. These are pretty much same like we discussed yesterday for filing an appeal to commissioner appeal, but I'll still quickly give you an overview for the sake of completeness. The memorandum of appeal, including grounds of appeal when filed on a separate paper, must be in triplicate, so 3 copies, and should be accompanied by 2 copies, at least one of which should be a certified copy of the order appealed against, and 2 copies of the order of the commissioner. What we do in practice is we get 1 extra copy on which you can get the receiving. I always recommend to all the practitioners to get a separate copy and get your receiving on that. The memorandum of appeal in the case of an appeal by the taxpayer must be accompanied by the fee. The appeal fee must be credited to a treasury or a branch of the National Bank of Pakistan or the State Bank, and the triplicate portion of the challan sent to the tribunal with the memorandum of appeal. Appellate tribunal does not accept any checks, hundis, or negotiable instrument. You have to submit the fee to the bank. So basically, you'll go to APIR's website, you'll create a challan to pay the fee, and then you'll send that deposit slip with the stamp on it to the appellate tribunal. Keep a copy of that for your record and send the original one to the appellate tribunal. The memorandum of appeal should be set forth concisely and under distinct heads. The ground of appeal without any argument or narrative, and such grounds should be numbered consecutively. So that's pretty much it. Now, before going forward, I have to show you 2 things. Number 1, I would show you the actual draft of an appeal uh, after removing the client's details for confidentiality purposes, so you can have a fair idea of how this is done in practice. And I'll also show you how you can make a challan from the FPR's website. That was a question raised yesterday which we couldn't address. So if you are not aware of that, you can do that now. So let's begin with the first thing. I'm gonna freeze my screen for a minute or 2 so I can pull up the appeal draft that I have to share with you and remove the client details in line with ACCA's Code of Ethics for the confidentiality purposes. What I suggest meanwhile is that you can type any questions that you have. This would be a good time to type them.
A question by Umair Khan just came in, whether appeal can be submitted online.
Don't just ask the question. I'm pulling up the details. Let them just type the questions. I'll tell you when to ask them, Nizam. Thank you.
Pardon, sir.
No issues. Just a couple of minutes more. Guys, make use of the time. Type your questions. Don't miss this time. Today, I'm going to show you another thing too. What if you want to get an early hearing from the appellate tribunal? How to go about that? Okay, it's almost done. Hmm. Okay, guys, I'm gonna unfreeze my screen now and we are gonna start doing it. Let me just open the index and then we'll do this. Okay, guys, can you see my screen now? Just give me a quick yes in the Q&A box if you can. Fantastic. Okay, guys, now pay attention. You are about to experience what the real deal is like. Um, I thought that we talk about the theory and we can do it in the best possible way, but the best way to go about anything after learning the concept is to actually look at the practical case. So first things first, what we do is, as a practice, we start with the covering letter. So the letter is addressed to the registrar of the Appellate Tribunal Inland Revenue. This one was filed in Lahore, so it's addressed to the bench in Lahore. I've done one thing. I've taken different documents of the set from different cases and years. So there might be a difference, but that is to protect the confidentiality. However, you'll see how it is actually done. So the subject is that we are submitting an appeal under section 131 of the income tax ordinance. And we have mentioned that what we are enclosing. There is a memorandum of appeal in duplicate, grounds of appeal in duplicate, grounds of first appeal filed before commissioner appeal, original order that we are appealing against, the impugned order, original receipt of challan of 2000, and the power of attorney. Although this is sufficient, but we also enclose an index listing basically the same thing. Practically, either of the two should suffice. We do this because some officers, some registrars prefer index and some prefer covering letter. So we just do both. It's a kind of duplication of effort on our end, but it ensures that we make the life easier for them, which in turn translates into easiness for our client during the hearing. So this is the index. We have filed the appeal. They'll be putting in the number here, the reference. It was filed in 2016, and it's for a client versus Commissioner Inland Revenue Appeals 2 of Lahore. And the appeal is filed under Section 131 of the Income Tax Ordinance 2001 against order dated XYZ passed by Commissioner Appeal XYZ, as well as impugned ex parte order dated XYZ by Inland Revenue Deputy Commissioner. So the index would state the documents we have enclosed: memorandum of appeals, ground of second appeal, ground of first appeal, appellate order, impugned assessment order. We have also enclosed the copy of income tax return, refund application. This particular case was about a refund, so we are enclosing those documents to support our argument. Certificate under Rule 12, which I'll show you in a bit, the power of attorney, and then we refer the annexures here, and we mention the page number. So what this does, in addition to the covering letter, it gives a very good and organized feel to the entire set of the appeal to the appellate tribunal, and it makes life so much easier for them to locate any paper. And when we are actually in the hearing in front of the bench, we can simply refer that annexure A, page number 19, and the judge can simply look at that page and find what we are referring to. And then you have you actually sign that the appellant is being represented through these counsels. So in this case, I, along with my two partners, were representing the client, so we all three of us actually signed this. Then you have the form of appeal, which is a must. So the form of appeal to the tribunal under section 131 of the income tax ordinance, in the appellate tribunal inland revenue, the number would be filed by them. The appellant was the client name. It was a private limited company versus Commissioner Appeals 2. The tax officer who made the assessment was the deputy commissioner. So basically the respondent is the commissioner, because the deputy commissioner is still passing the order in his name and his authority. The tax year to which the appeal relates was tax year 2012, and the sections were section 170 subsection 4. What is that? About the refund. And 129 1A, that was the section under which the commissioner appeals passed the judgment in favor of the commissioner. Date of communication of the order that was appealed, we mentioned that. Address to which we want any notices and communications to be sent. Obviously we are handling that, so we want it to be sent to us instead of the client then having to forward it to us, so we mentioned that. You can see our address: Millennium Law and Corporate Company, second floor, Bashir mentioned 2 Turner Road, adjacent AG Office, Mosque, Lahore. Address to which the notices may be sent to the respondent. You can mention that, or you can also leave that if that's an FPR address that you have already mentioned, or you can do as above. Claim in the appeal, um, as per grounds of appeal attached under section 1531B, read with section 122 of the income tax ordinance. Then the authorized representative and the appellant signs this, and then there is a declaration that everything is true to the best of the knowledge and belief of the appellant, and the chief executive of the company or the authorized officer of the company has to sign that. So this is the form of the appeal. Now next up would be the grounds of appeal. That now this is basically the heart and the soul of your appeal. Rest of the things have been formalities, the requirement, the legalities, the form, etc., that you have to enclose. These grounds of appeal are actually the thing that you are arguing about. This is the argument that you are making. These are the reasons that you think the decision of the commissioner appeal was not valid. These are the things that they missed. These are the things they overlooked. This is the thing they didn't correctly interpret it. And obviously it would depend on case to case. You would need to look at the exact nature of the case, exact nature of the argument, exact nature of the proposition, and then the sub intricacies, that if you are dealing with a particular section and industry, your particular client's exact scenarios were what, whether there is a loophole there, whether there is a particular thing there you have to address. Before we go about this, I think this is a right time to take some more questions. So Nizam, do you have any questions for me?
For sure, sir. We have some questions. The first question is by Umair Khan. He is asking whether appeal can be submitted online. Since we received the notice online on FPR site, can we submit the appeal replying the same?
Your question is very logical and it should be the case. Unfortunately, it is not the case at the moment.
Muhammad Khalid Aslam, I intend to file an appeal for which due date was going to expire, but due to the lockdown could not go to the CIR appeals office. What I can do once the lockdown is over? Do I have to get permission for extension in time from CIR appeals or not required?
Can you unmute him?
For sure, sir.
I'll let him ask the question himself. Thank you.
Okay, it seems he's not attentive, but I'll unmute his mic. You may be able to ask your question if you are around, Muhammad Khalid Aslam.
Assalamu alaikum, Khalid Saab. If you are there and haven't gone for a short break, this is the time to ask your question. I'll give you 30 seconds. If not, I'll just proceed with answering it.
Can you hear me?
Good to hear from you. Can you just get the mic a bit closer so we can hear you clearly?
Yeah. Okay. I've seen the order.
It's better now. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
I think there's some problem in mic, so
It's
if you
fine.
can
I
just
can hear you now. Please go ahead.
I sent the appeal documents to the appeal, but the staff did not let my staff to enter the office, and they said the general public is not allowed to visit these days. So the date has been expired. The 30 days period has been expired. So do I have to file a separate application after lockdown is over, or they will
When the
accept
lockdown started, on 23rd March, I guess, how many days have lapsed
Yeah.
by then?
Due date 30 days were ending on 28th of March. 28th
Okay,
of
so you
March.
still had about 5 days.
Yes.
Great. Okay, in this scenario, what you'll do is that your appeal is already ready, right? You'll simply enclose
Yes.
one application addressing the commissioner appeal, mentioning that you sent your staff to file the appeal on 23rd March, 24th March, as the case was. However, the notice was issued and the offices were closed due to the lockdown for public access. And keeping in view of these exceptional circumstances, your appeal may kindly be entertained. And in line with the law, I'm pretty confident he would submit your appeal. Okay?
Okay. Okay. That's great. So nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Please ask the next question, Nizam.
The next question is by Mehfish Mehman. With reference to approval under Section 236 in brackets of the Income Tax Ordinance 2001, commissioners have been withdrawing applicants at a considerable rate. If the organization does not agree with withdrawals, can it go to the Appellate Tribunal for appeal? If yes, please guide me on procedure.
Can you unmute Mahvish?
We'll try to do that, sir.
Thank you.
Most welcome. Okay, Mavish, you may ask your question. You need to unmute yourself in order to ask the question, Mavish, if you can hear me.
Assalamu
Okay.
alaikum. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can
Wa
hear you
alaikum
perfectly.
assalam. Your voice is perhaps the most clear till now. You need to share the tips how to adjust your mic with our
Because,
participants.
because I'm listening on phone, maybe.
Oh, okay, that might be the case. Uh, so, Mavish, are you enjoying this session? Are you learning something useful?
Yes, sir. I'm learning from this basically, but I am little bit disappointed with ACCA that you do not give your session specifically on taxation matters of NPOs, because my past 8 years experience is with NPOs, so I want more information on that. But it is
I
always
have good
relevant,
news.
always new thing to know.
I have good news for you. You don't need
Yeah.
to be disappointed. What you need to do is log into your email and send an email either to me or the member affairs mentioning that you want a session on NPO. And inshallah, it will be arranged. Basically, what we do is it sounds like you are dealing with taxation, as you mentioned. You can understand there are so many different topics. So what we need
Yeah.
to do is we get feedback from members, and
Mhm.
obviously the members who are engaging, based on their feedback, we agree on the CPD topics. So it might be that a topic might be highly useful to you and a lot of other members, but because you are not engaging, because you are not sharing, so those members who are sharing are able to get their chosen topics in the CPD program. But the good news is that we are encouraging all the members and we have a detailed plan. We are not going to be finishing the CPDs next week. This is just the beginning. So send in an email and we'll have detailed session on NPO2. So now that
Okay,
this
I'll.
disappointment is out of the way, I hope you are happy and can ask your
Yes,
question.
I am. Yeah. Sir, my question is that actually I have been working with the taxation materials of Section 236 for application or NPOs in FBR. And
Hmm.
mostly the organizations, recently I had a case where the organization has been refused due to the personal gain that is specified under Rule 2132A. That if an
Hmm.
organization's any particular person is having any
Hmm.
personal gain out of the NPO, then the application of the organization will be refused. But in actual
Hmm.
scenario, that was an honorarium paid to the board members for their for attending the meeting. That was actually a reimbursement for their logistics facility, and they
Hmm.
were basically refused for withdrawal. I tried to
Hmm.
reach out to the commissioner again that this is not the case. This is basically a reimbursement. And at one case, in another case, they have approved it, and then there's another case they haven't. So I need that. Is there
Hmm.
any procedure for going to the appellate tribunal for that?
Okay, and normally we don't answer specific questions, but since you have taken the trouble to put that out in detail, as a courtesy, I will answer that. But my request, after this, if you have any specific question, shoot me a message on LinkedIn. I'll be more than happy to answer. Okay, but
Okay.
here we have to focus on the general one, but I will answer your question. So the good news for you is this sounds like, obviously I haven't seen any document. So my advice is only based off what you have just told me, that a similar case was decided in favor and this was decided against. And basically the honorarium was actually a reimbursement, etc., etc. This is a classic case of malpractice. Okay. And if I was in your position, I would actually file a complaint with the FTO. You are aware
Mhm.
of the FTO?
I'm not aware about FTO.
Okay. We are planning to do a session on FTO too. Send me a message on LinkedIn. I'll share some links with you. This is basically the federal tax ombudsman. And the scenario that you have described is exactly what falls within their domain. And they have a very good track record. They have given some very, very powerful decisions in the past against FPR officials, even to the extent of not only reversing their decisions, but penalizing them. So normally the
Mhm.
forum has a good history. If you have all the proper documentation and actually the example, I believe that can be a very good forum to take this up. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
You are most welcome. Nizam, can we move on to the next question, please?
Yes, we have a question from Muhammad Atif Ajakia. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. Format will be shared to us. So what format are you referring to? Atif, please elaborate.
I think I
Then
got his question. Let me answer. Atif, the formats are already with you in the Income Tax Rules 2002 PDF file that has been shared. What I'm showing you is our firm's proprietary stuff, and I've just taken the liberty from our co-partners to actually show that to our members for the benefit of their learning. And being an ACCA firm, they were more than happy to oblige, but obviously we might not be able to share this proprietary stuff with you, but we have already shared the PDF files of the laws and legislations which carry all the necessary formats that you need to file the appeal. Hope that answers. Next one.
he just sent in appeal. Uh, Nabil Ibrahim is asking Umar Bhai, the index you referred today, there were two appeals were mentioned. Please advise.
Okay, that's basically just a way to mention it. You can also write it in a different way. So you can write the grounds of appeal for Appellate Tribunal. What we did, because that was a case focused on refunds, and it was a very, very complicated case. We were basically the first one, by the grace of Almighty, to get a relief from tribunal. So what we did, we also included the grounds of appeal that we filed to the Commissioner Appeals, because we believe that Commissioner Appeals decision actually overlooked all the arguments and judgment that we provided them. So to make a case in point, we also submitted the grounds of appeal to the Commissioner Appeal. They are not always required, but as I've mentioned, you have to look at every case. The nature of our case was such that our argument was based on this, and we had to, in order to prove the point, provide the grounds of appeal of the first appeal, which was the appeal with the Commissioner Appeal. I hope that answers the question. Next one.
Saqib Latif, can you file an appeal under Rule 218 on NPO application?
I think this has already been discussed extensively with Mavish. So next one.
Danish Sultan, sir, what if a commissioner appeals revert back to the case to the DC? Would we go on to the file an appeal with ATIR against CIR's decision, or we will again wait for the decision of commissioner and then again go through the process of filing an appeal with CIT?
Danish, that's a very, very good question. You actually have both options, but normally any wise taxpayer or the tax consultant would first wait. What you have referred to is something we technically call a remand back. So the remand back means that the process has restarted, which is in your favor. The officer will again go through the process, look at your document, give his decision, and if you are not happy, you will again have the Commissioner Appeals Forum before the tribunal. But if for some reason you are in a rush or you are not happy with the remand back and you want to take your chances, or you are confident enough, whatever the reasons or the collection of reasons may be, then you can certainly go and file an appeal with the Appellate Tribunal that you are not happy with the decision of Commissioner Appeal to remand back. You actually want the order of the officer to be annulled and set aside. Hope that answers the question. G, do we have any other questions?
We have one more by Atif. In current scenario, are all the hearings adjourned or not?
Atif, there have been many notes of information on these circulated by us. I've also shared them on my social media profiles. So my first advice is please link up so you can stay up to date. FBR and these authorities have issued various notices, as well as other government regulatory authorities. And with the lockdown in force at the moment, no hearings are being scheduled. And if there was any hearing during this lockdown period and you couldn't attend it, notification have been issued that no adverse decision will be issued against you, and you would be given the next chance, the next hearing. So good news, nothing to worry about. Hope that answers the question. Now let's move back to the performers that we were dealing with. So before the Q&A break, we were talking about the grounds of appeal. So as you can see, this appeal was made against the commissioner and the deputy commissioners. That was because of the nature of the case. And the grounds of appeal were that the appellate order number XYZ, dated XYZ, served on XYZ date, passed by respondent 1, as well as the impugned order passed by respondent 2, commissioner appeals, and the deputy commissioner inland revenue. Obviously, we have mentioned that we believe these are illegal, void, unlawful, without jurisdiction, and have no legal force in the eye of the law. Firstly, we have mentioned that the findings of the respondent 1 commissioner appeals are against the facts and circumstances and also against the legal provisions of the relevant sections. Then we have mentioned that in our opinion, respondent 1 commissioner appeal has not applied his independent judicious mind while deciding the case of the appellant and just repeated the impugned order passed by the FPR official. Then we mentioned that the order of the respondent 1 is not the speaking order, and as the appellant has fully supported the contentions, his contentions with the documentary evidence, but the respondent 1 miserably failed to properly consider and interpret them, etc., etc. Then we have mentioned that the respondent 2 originally passed the order ex parte, violating the settled legal principle of audi alteram partem, and also violating the constitution by way of that. Uh, then we also gave some judgments to place the reliance on that. We also mentioned that the important objection raised by the appellant was not considered, whereby a refund on similar ground, albeit a smaller one, for one of the years was issued, and the refund for the other years were declined, although it was exactly on the similar lines under the similar section dealing with the same clients, government clients, by the same company. Everything is same, all the propositions are same. So how can the officer do that? And they don't and they haven't even passed any speaking order. Then we gave further judgments of FTO as well as other superior courts. We mentioned the other points. We mentioned the judgments of the Lahore High Court that we are placing our reliance on. We also mentioned other legal principles. We elaborated some judgments. We mentioned FTO's decisions, etc., etc. Anyway, as you can see, a lot of effort was put in. It was quite a historic case, and by the blessing of Almighty, we end up winning it. But the grounds of appeal is really where the bulk of the effort has to be put in, because this would make up the mind of the judges of the appellate authorities before you have even reached them. And then obviously you get a chance to plead later on too. So then finally, after the grounds of appeal, the prayer is made. As you can see, the pattern is largely similar as is the case with the commissioner appeal, which we covered yesterday. So in the light of the above submissions, it is therefore requested that the appellate order dated XYZ as well as the impugned ex parte order dated XYZ passed by the respondents may very kindly be declared as illegal, without jurisdiction, void, ab initio, ultra vires, and unlawful, and may very kindly be cancelled or nullified, and the refund amount may be issued along with the compensation and delays, etc., etc. And obviously then we as the authorized representatives have to sign these. This brings us to the certificate under rule 12 that we had to actually send to the relevant officials that we are filing an appeal. We gave them the ground of appeal, and obviously we sent an acknowledgement receipt copy to get an acknowledgement from them, so we can enclose this certificate of under rule 12 along with our appeal. Then we have the power of attorney. Those of you who are already dealing with it are aware of this. Those who attended yesterday's session are also aware. So this is the power of attorney, in which basically the client authorizes our firm and to represent them on their behalf. I've mentioned with you that I will also be sharing an additional thing which I would write now. But what we have covered till now covers a normal appeal that is filed to the appellate tribunal. What if you want to have a quick date of hearing? Maybe the nature of the matter is such that, and there are a lot of cases at the appellate tribunal. Do you have any way to do that? Do you have any mechanism? How would you go about that? What would you do? What should you do? Yes, there is a mechanism. You can actually file a request with the registrar. You can file an application for the early hearing, and this is the way to do that. So the format is same. You are filing this before the Appellate Tribunal Inland Revenue, and you mention all the details of the case, just like you mentioned in filing the main appeal. You mentioned that the appeal was filed under XYZ section on XYZ date, and then the subject of your application is what the purpose is, the application for early hearing of the above captioned appeal. Then you mentioned the reason why you want this to be heard earlier. You mentioned the appeal is filed. There's a strong prima facie case. The balance of convenience also lies in the favor of the petitioner, that there has already been extensive delay in handling of the case, where the FPR left this undecided, etc., etc. And then you file this, and then the appellate tribunal has the authority. It's up to their will whether they speed up your case. What you do practically is, after filing the appeal, you actually follow that up. You go meet the registrar, you request them. Sometime you might even need to meet the chairman of the appellate tribunal to ensure that your case can be pushed further. If you do make sufficient effort and you do have a genuine case, you can end up getting it speeded, getting it actually speed up the backlog that they have. Because as I mentioned before, the appellate tribunal has a lot of backlog. Even to date, many of the benches are still empty. Appointments have been made recently in the recent past, but still not all the benches have been fulfilled, and the caseload is a lot. So normally it can take a lot of time to get your case up for hearing. So depending on which side of the argument you are, you might not view that as a favor, but as an inconvenience, and might actually want your case to be heard earlier. If that is the case, you can do it in the way I mentioned. That would leave just one thing, which I would like to show you. What if you want to file a stay application? How can you file a stay application? Let me share with you. Just give me a second so I can also share with you the format of a stay application. Let me just open one and take out the client details. Okay, guys, I hope you can all see the screen now. Let me know if you can. Just a quick yes in the Q&A or chat boxes, please. Can you see the screen, guys? Okay, I'll give you a few seconds to type in your feedbacks. If not, I'll assume the screen is visible. Okay, so I'm assuming it's visible to all. So guys, you can see on your screens now, you have a pattern of stay application. It's largely the same for both commissioner appeals and the appellate tribunal. In case of appellate tribunal, you would have the appellate tribunal here instead of commissioner appeal. Again, the reference of the appeal would be there, the client name and the officer name would be there, and you'll just mention. There won't be any facts because normally it's stated with the main appeal, it's filed with the main appeal, the facts are stated in the main appeal. So you'll simply mention that the appeal has been filed. Contents of main appeal may kindly be read as an integral part of the application. The petitioner has strong prima facie case, and there is every likelihood of its success that the balance of convenience and inconvenience also weigh in the favor of the appellant, and that if the operation of impugned appellate orders are not suspended, they may result in the taxpayer suffering irreparable loss and hardship and a request for the stay order. And normally that is granted. So that's how it's done. Now that you have seen the stay application, I am about to move towards the next phase, which is showing you how to create a bank challan. And then we have two sections about the decisions of the appellate tribunal, how that works. So now would be a good time to take a few questions for 5-10 minutes if you have any. So Nizam, do we have any questions?
We have two questions. First is from Saqib Latif. He's asking, can you share your experience on interim stay is rejected due to non-availability of recovery notice U/S 138 of the
Under
ITO
section
2001.
138. That's under section 138 of income tax ordinance. Thank you, Nizam. Saqib, that's a good question. Can you unmute Saqib, please? It's actually a very interesting question, and I need to ask him a couple of things.
Okay, sir. Saqib Latif, you may ask your question.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Hello. Hello.
Okay, we might just have lost Sir Umar. We'll wait for him.
Sure, sure.
Please stand by.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, that's good. I think there was a technical glitch. Go to webinar just for the inconvenience. Can we connect with Saqib again, please?
Sure. Saqib, go ahead with your question, please.
Just wanted to know your experience with regard to when an interim stay is actually rejected by Commissioner Appeals, and then you have to file an interim stay to the tribunal. And in most cases, what I've noticed is that the tribunal generally does not grant you stay just because that you do not have a notice under section 138, which is actually the recovery proceedings initiated by the department. So in that case, what should be the point of contention that we have to put forward to the tribunal?
Okay, there can be two scenarios. One scenario is that the department has initiated proceedings, but you haven't received the notice. That is fairly simple. You would just actually pursue the notice, get a copy of that. The second scenario is that the department has not actually started the proceedings. In that case, you should actually copy the relevant section of the ordinance and rules outlining that the department has this specific power as per the law, that unless a stay application is issued, the department, despite being the matter in appeal, has full rights to initiate recovery proceedings. And the crux would be that because you have a strong case and prima facie it's in the balances of convenience is also in your favor and it's strong prima facie, so if the stay is not issued with these powers in force and the track record of FPR, you are afraid that they'll actually pursue with punitive measures and with aggressive measures, and you basically need the stay order so that you can be protected against such measures. In our case, if you actually put these arguments and make the point, as I've shared with you, that this is the legal scenario, despite the matter being in appeal, unless there is a stay, the department has all powers and right to actually initiate the recovery proceedings and point out that you have a strong case, and depending on the nature of the case, you'll word it accordingly. Then you normally end up getting the stay. I'll share my own experience that in all the instances, not just when the commissioner appeal has denied a stay, we have hardly ever been denied a stay. Mostly they put up a condition of 15%, 10%, 25%. And if the case is of a nature where we believe the assessment is undue, then we approach the tribunal against that condition that we should be issued an unconditional stay. And in our experience, we have always ended up getting that. So I hope that answers your question and is of
Thank you,
help.
sir. Thank
But you
you.
can, you are welcome, but you can also discuss any specific scenario with me on LinkedIn.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Next one, Nizam, please ask the questions quickly now.
We have Abdul Rahim asking, please advise about the process of obtaining an injunction order while appeal is underway.
We have already discussed about that in detail, and the other side of this that you can go and get from the courts is not the purview of today. Next one.
Shahid Kareem, can stay application and early hearing pays filed along with appeal?
Yes. Next.
Inayat Qayyum, can an assessee or a company file an appeal to reopen its tax file on his own, to whom the company should be appealing?
Reopen his text file. Could you please elaborate what you are trying to say, and I'll be more than happy to guide. Next one, please.
Okay, we have Sishan Majid asking, sir, can you please share these formats after removing the client details for confidentiality concerns, the formats regarding the index of that?
Okay, I'll ask that from my firm because it's the firm property. So I'll ask if they are comfortable with that. I would surely do that. Next one, please.
Okay, we are out of questions. The last one pending is
Perfect.
by Inayat.
Oh, our dear friend Inayat. Yeah.
So he needs to clarify.
Okay, so Inayat asks, can an assessee or a company file an appeal to reopen its tax file on his own, to whom the company should be? And then to whom? Okay, Inayat, you don't open a text file. You basically open different cases. Text file basically mean everything that is on record with the department. So you need to elaborate whether you are referring to a certain case. That's all?
That will be all for now, sir.
Perfect. Okay, let's go back quickly because we have quite a few things to cover. So what you do for creating a challan, you go to the old FPR site, e.fpr.gov.pk. As you can see on your screens. Come on. The portal is a bit slow at the moment. The main site is opening. Oh, finally, the old site also opened. So look at e-payments. Here, you can click on income tax. assuming you are filing an appeal for the income tax, you can fill in your NTN, relevant tax year, and it would fill in your name details. Then you'll fill in the nature of the tax that you are submitting, and you'll create a challan by putting in the amount of the appeal fee. Press on the create button. Your bank challan would be created. Print that and make the payment in the relevant bank. I hope that clarifies. Now let's go on to the final sections of today so that we can conclude in a timely fashion. Okay, what we last discussed was exception to time bar. So we have to cover 131 subsection 5 now. That's 230s. 31. Okay, 244. Okay, here we go. So notwithstanding that an appeal has been filed under this section, tax shall, unless recovery thereof has been stayed by the appellate tribunal, be payable in accordance with the assessment made in the case. So Shahid Sahab, this is what I was referring to you, and similar is the case with regard to appeals filed with commissioner appeal that's mentioned in the relevant section too. So this can be reproduced, especially when you are filing for the stay applications, provided that if on filing of application in a particular case, the appellate tribunal is of the opinion that the recovery of tax levied under this ordinance and upheld by the commissioner appeals shall cause undue hardship to the taxpayer, the tribunal, after affording opportunity of being heard to the commissioner, may stay the recovery of such tax for a period not exceeding 180 days in aggregate. So maximum the stay can be for 180 days, after which it would lapse. Provided further that where the recovery of tax has been stayed under this section, such stay orders shall cease to have effect on expiration of the set period of 180 days, as I already mentioned, following the date on which the stay order was made, and the commissioner shall and can and will, let me tell you, proceed to recover the said tax. Provided further that in computing the aforesaid period of 180 days, the period, if any, for which the recovery of tax was stayed by a high court shall be excluded. So if you went for an injunction or stay from the high court in the interim period, that does not count within the time period, the time limit that the tribunal has of 180 days. So that brings us to the last relevant section of the day, section 132 of the income tax ordinance, dealing with the disposal of appeals by the appellate tribunal. The appellate tribunal may, before disposing of an appeal, call for such particulars as it may require in respect of the matters arising on the appeal, or cause any further inquiries to be made by the commissioner. So the appellate tribunal can even guide the commissioner to take up the case again, to make further inquiries. The appellate tribunal shall afford the opportunity of being heard to the relevant parties. Um, in case there is default by any party on the date of hearing, the tribunal can proceed ex parte to decide the appeal on the basis of the record that would be available with them. Where the appeal relates to an assessment order, the tribunal may, without any prejudice to the power specified in subsection 2, make an order to affirm, modify, or annul. All this is standard lingua that we have already covered in yesterday's session 2. Basically, the appellate forum have the authority to either modify, to annul, to confirm, to amend the orders, or to remand back the case to the previous authority. And same applies to the appellate tribunal as well. So the appellate tribunal can decide the appeal on the basis of the record that would be available with them.
Can I have a quick assessment from you guys if you are able to hear Mr. Omar? Okay, we got it. You are not able to hear him. Okay, we'll wait for him. Please have patience. Hello? So are you able to hear us? Or hear me, sorry. Hello? We have lost your voice, Sir Umar.
I'm getting yes now from Shahid, and I'm assuming you guys can hear me. Uh, yes. So it's fine. Great. Okay, so the crux of what I was covering when the disruption happened is that just like the commissioner appeal, the appellate tribunal also has the right to amend, confirm, vary, or annul the decision and issue any
There's a
consequential
bit distortion
directions.
in your.
Okay, that's fine. Um, okay, so that's pretty much it. And we have discussed about the pro forma, the practical demonstration. So we are pretty good. We have pretty much covered everything. Before I take up your questions, I would just like to say a few things. Obviously, in these times, we have to look towards digital resources, and we are lucky in that we have a good setup. But sometimes these disruptions can happen, especially as the networks are clogged with everyone using the internet more, as we are aware. However, overall, the session is good. Please let us know the topics that you are interested in. You can send me a message on LinkedIn or send me an email or send an email directly to Members Affairs. If you send me as chair of your MNP, I would also send that to Member Affairs and actually sit with them to discuss that. And hopefully we'll hold as many topics as we possibly can, inshallah. The recordings of these sessions will be available to you, the recordings of not just these sessions, but hundreds of other lectures, hundreds of hours of other lectures are also available on various channels of ACC on social media. They are also available on my personal channel on the YouTube, and you can access all of that free of charge. You can connect with me, as I've said, on social media and ask any queries that you have. I'll be more than happy to answer. Best way to connect is LinkedIn. And before I open the session for final questions and conclude in the end with a thank note, I would like to appreciate the entire team of ACC, especially Nizam, who helped to set this up. I would also like to thank my team at MLCC who helped with the presentation, especially Ali, who is also part of our taxation subcommittee and Lahore Chambers chair of Lahore Tax Bar's Liaison Committee. Thank you, guys. It wouldn't have been possible without you. And now we have a few minutes. Let's take questions for about 10 minutes, Nizam, if we have any. We can also see the feedbacks and respond to them.
Sure, sir. Uh, so we have Shahzad Hussain. If stay application is granted and during proceeding appeal remanded, then lower court passing that final order can order to pay recovery amount.
Yes, absolutely. Try to understand the concept of the stay. If you look at the stay, the wordings would be till X amount of days or the decision of the appeal, whichever is high, whichever is earlier. So if the appeal is decided, then the stay is concluded. What is stay? Stay is basically an interim relief till the actual contention is decided. So if the actual contention is decided, then the interim relief lapses automatically. And that is specifically also mentioned in the stay orders now, by the way. Next one, please.
We have a comment by Rashid Hanif. So wants sessions on IFRS and be assured there will be sessions on IFRS. They are being planned. Then we have podcast. Rafiq, please make sure all webinar timings will be after office hours. We try our
Just
best.
skip the suggestions. The suggestions can be emailed directly. If there are any comments, feedback, you can take that. If there are any questions, please mention them because we are in the last 10 minutes of the day now.
Inayat Qayyum, it's referring my last question. If an SSE finds that there are some mistakes done, which filing the tax return in brackets realizing on his own, in that case we can in that case can an SSE reopen his her own files?
Thank you, Nizam. I understood his question. I'll answer that now. Inayat, in case you need to revise your assessment, uh, in Pakistan, the change has been made now that we have 60 days to revise the assessment automatically using the online system without having to go to the commissioner. Previously, what was the case, and I believe that might still be the case in Bangladesh, unless it has been changed recently, you would need to write to the commissioner requesting them to allow you to update that, citing that there was a clerical error or whatever reason, the genuine reason you have, and the commissioner would then allow you to file a revised return. I hope that answers your question. Next one, Nizam, please.
We have Usman Yusuf. He's looking for your professional advice, asking how can he learn about Pakistani tax laws and become as good as you.
Usman has also said very good session. Thank you, Usman. You are the first person on this planet who doesn't like to read any praises at all. You know you are a rare commodity in that.
I was trying to be quick, sir. Pardon my.
That's okay. But these help us to get even quicker and be motivated. Usman, we have discussed this in yesterday's session too. If you want to become a professional in taxation like me, that's a kind compliment. Thank you. I would suggest you to start going through the lectures that are available, which I just mentioned. And the way which I suggest to go through them is that once you are playing the lecture, set a target like 5 to 7 section, read them beforehand from the source legislation, then listen to the lecture, then read them again, and then make your notes what you understood. And if you didn't understand anything, make some question and consult with a senior. You can consult with me on LinkedIn too, and that would be the best approach. Once you have gone through that, I think there are about 200 to 300 hours of taxation lectures freely available online on various ACCA channel, and should be a similar amount available on my channel as well. So go through them first. That's a huge amount of free resource available to you. So much so that the entire ordinance and act is covered section by section, which is unprecedented. So make use of that. Once you have done that, touch base with me again, and then I'll guide you what should be the next stepping stone in your quest to become a tax professional. Next one, Nizam, please.
Okay, we have Muhammad Amin. Uh, More for suggestions. So please arrange sessions on withholding income and sales tax, professional sales tax, including filing of sales tax returns and professional provincial sales tax returns, also filing of withholding statements, etc. And then we have Bilal Awan praising very
One by
useful
one.
session.
One by one, please. Thank you. Thank you, Bilal, for your kind feedback. Amin Sab, a good suggestion noted, but as I discussed several times and as I elaborated when answering Mavish's question, could you please send us an email or just send this suggestion in writing on LinkedIn? We have a process. So when any member is sending in that suggestion, that goes through that process, and it basically speeds up the process. Some people are asking how can you access member affairs? That's been answered by Nizam directly. You can send an email to member affairs. You can send me a message directly on LinkedIn too, and we can take care of that. Next one. Ram Ratan, very informative session, sir. Thank you. Bilal, useful session. Thank you. Abdul Ahad, these are good webinars for ACCA. as we lack local tax knowledge. I often get people who are very good technical but lose out on jobs because of local tax knowledge of local body students. Abdullah, thank you very much for your kind feedback. This keeps us motivated. This is exactly the purpose why we are conducting this session, to build upon the knowledge and expertise of our members and fraternity, and hopefully deliver excellence to the wider profession too. That's why this is all free of cost, and this resource would also be put out on various social media channels for you to access them later on too. Nabil Ibrahim, thanks for your time. Umar Bhai, excellent session. Most welcome, Nabil. We are grateful. Sayyid Fasi Hashmi, thanks. Welcome. Ram Ratan sir, please, any session on sales tax? Sure, but brother Ram, please send your suggestion either through email or drop a message on LinkedIn, as I mentioned repeatedly. Muhammad Hassan Khan, thanks for the session. Though I missed out yesterday one, however, I found it on YouTube. Congrats then. You're welcome. Hassan, thanks again. You're welcome. Sidra, Jazakallah sir, big thumbs up for your efforts. You're welcome, Sidra. Thanks for the kind feedback. Siddiq Ahmed, thanks. Well, you are welcome, guys. Since we have reached near the end of the session today and all the questions have ended, we are very grateful for your feedback. Please do keep that coming in. All your suggestions are very valuable. ACCA is our association, members association. Your feedback is vital. Please engage, please send in your feedback, and be sure that that will be taken into consideration. Inshallah, we'll continue to do these sessions, and this is actually a very important phase in your careers. All this extra time that we suddenly find ourselves to have on our hands, it is up to us to make that time into a productive one, turn this free time that we have into a blessing by actually working on our skill set, by actually attending sessions like these, by actually going through the legislations, the draft, by working on our skills, by connecting with our fraternity. So you do all that and all of you would be our stars. So thank you very much for your feedback, and we will be updating the YouTube channel with latest videos. There was a null in between because ACCA was uploading that on the Vimeo channel, but now ACCA's videos are available on GoToWebinar channel. So in consultation with the taxation committee, I've decided that we'll be putting the videos more regularly on the YouTube channel, as many members find that more convenient. So you'll have more access to that too, if that's a consideration of yours. So I hope that has answered all the queries. Your feedbacks, prayers, and positive feedbacks are greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. They keep us motivated. And once again, thanks to the entire team who made this possible today. Thank you, Nizam. If we don't have any question, I think we can end this session now.
We thank you for your time, sir.
Most welcome. Have a good day, everyone. And hopefully I'll see you all on Monday. Do register for the session. All the best.
Take care, Allah Hafiz.